What is that?
It's your Stargate.
Inside a dark garage, a plastic tank, iced tea powder, and a wooden drill gave birth to a ripple that would one day echo through science itself.
The Stargate was a pyramidal shape, a triangular shape that was standing on its tip. But then Roland came up with the idea that he would need some kind of dialing process.
In 1994, it was just an improvised special effect. Years later, NASA would use it to visualize a wormhole. This is the story of how Stargate, a film nearly abandoned by its own crew, ended up shaping our vision of the universe. A studio that didn't believe. In the early 1990s, Hollywood had decided science fiction was commercially dead. Stargate was pitched to every major studio, and each one said no. Executives saw it as a financial black hole, too expensive, too weird, and lacking the brand power of Star Wars or Star Trek. But director Roland Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin believed they had something different. Not just a film about aliens, but a mythological mystery rooted in ancient history. When the doors closed, they didn't stop. They raised the entire $55 million budget independently, a massive risk that left no room for error. The pressure to secure star power became existential. Foreign markets were already nervous about the premise, and without a recognizable lead, investors wouldn't commit. Kurt Russell was the obvious choice, but he kept turning it down. What the filmmakers didn't know was that he was reading an outdated version of the script, one so poorly written that it nearly derailed the project before filming began. When he finally saw the real draft, he changed his mind, and the producers locked him in with a staggering $7 million offer, more than 10% of the entire budget. Russell's name became a lifeline. The project didn't just need talent, it needed credibility. Without backing from a major studio, everything depended on foreign pre-sales, quick production, and zero major delays. But the moment Russell signed on, the scales shifted. MGM agreed to distribute, plugging the film into a rare opening in their fall calendar. Still, doubts lingered and pressure mounted. The journey had only begun. A script nobody believed in. While Kurt Russell eventually saw the potential in the project, James Spader walked into it with far less enthusiasm. He later admitted that he thought the script was awful, and he meant it. He had come from smaller, more respected character-driven films, and suddenly found himself in a loud, effects-heavy science fiction story that felt clumsy on the page. Still, he was at a strange point in his career and needed the paycheck. So he accepted the role even though the material didn't inspire him. That frustration didn't stay hidden for long. Spader frequently pushed back against the dialogue, arguing with Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin whenever a line sounded cheap or unnatural. Tension built day after day until it finally exploded. One afternoon, Spader refused to leave his trailer, insisting that the pages needed to be rewritten before he would step in front of the camera. Production froze, crews waited, and money drained away by the minute as the directors scrambled to make quick changes just to keep the film moving. The standoff ended when Kurt Russell marched to Spader's trailer and confronted him directly. Spader challenged him to admit the truth about the script, and Russell answered with the blunt practicality of a veteran star. He told him the dialogue might not be brilliant, but that was exactly why they were being paid to perform it. In that moment, the clash between artistic frustration and commercial reality became painfully clear, and the production moved forward with that uneasy balance still hanging over every scene. The visuals that shouldn't have worked. The first Stargate prop looked like a disaster. Painted flat black, the 22-foot ring resembled a giant Goodyear tire under studio lights. Heavy, dull, and completely unconvincing. Dean Devlin later said it had no depth, no mystery, no alien beauty. With filming already underway, the team made a desperate overnight decision: repaint the entire gate metallic silver. The result was instant. Light bounced across the surface, catching every ridge and symbol, transforming it into something ancient and powerful. That single fix became the visual anchor for the entire franchise. But the most iconic image, the shimmering liquid portal, was born in a garage. After rejecting multiple failed concepts, visual effects supervisor Jeffrey Okun and cinematographer David Stump filled the plexiglass tank with water, stirred an iced tea powder for depth, and spun a wooden beam on a drill. What formed was an organic, spiraling strudel. When they blasted the tank with 2.1 psi of air from a mortar, it created the explosive kawoosh that defined the Stargate opening. Emmerich had already dismissed Okun more than once, sometimes in anger, sometimes just out of impulse. But when he saw the footage, the swirling liquid effect caught him off guard. His skepticism melted into approval, and for once, he had nothing to criticize. The shot had earned its place. That wasn't the end of the chaos. The team still had to film morphing helmet effects, shoot mirror angle walkthroughs with laser guides, and composite a journey through the gate that took 30 days to render, one frame at a time on 1994 computers. Most software failed under pressure. Faces warped, ears floated off heads. Eventually, they wrote their own morphing code from scratch. The final shots weren't technically perfect, but their imperfections, slightly off, strangely alien, gave the visuals a realism that polished CGI couldn't match. Somehow, from gallons of water and trial by fire, the Stargate didn't just work, it felt real. A universe built with sweat and sand. The alien world of Abydos wasn't rendered in computers, it was carved out of the Arizona desert. In the summer of 1993, the crew descended on Yuma and Buttercup Valley, where the sands had already served as backdrops for Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Determined to push the illusion further, the Stargate team constructed towering Egyptian-inspired alien structures directly into the landscape. Each time they finished a take, assistants raked the sand clean to erase footprints, preserving the untouched look of another world. But July was brutal. Temperatures soared past 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Water bottles melted in the sun. Crew buried their drinks just to cool them. Cameras jammed, film warped, and heat exhaustion became a daily event. Actors inside the Horus Guard helmets suffered the most. Sealed inside rubber and fiberglass suits with glowing lights and zero ventilation, they could barely breathe. Each bathroom break was a logistical ordeal, and medical staff were constantly on standby. To simulate crowds without inflating the budget, the team planted stick figures dressed in robes deep in the background, saving thousands while keeping the illusion intact. For the final battle, real extras charged across the dunes in heavy robes, while miniatures and green screen fires filled out the horizon. Every shot was a puzzle of layers, designed to make a few $100 look like thousands. Golden hour was sacred. As the sun dipped, the desert turned to gold and shadow, transforming each frame into a painting. The cinematographer chased those fleeting minutes relentlessly, even filming miniature city towers in the same light, so they'd blend seamlessly with the real sets. The result was a handmade planet, constructed with sweat, sand, and timing more precise than any CGI could replicate. When fashion hijacked the film, Jay Davidson never intended to become an actor. He was a fashion assistant in London when a chance encounter at a party landed him the role in The Crying Game. That role earned him an Oscar nomination in 1993, but Davidson hated the attention. He preferred anonymity and was already planning to leave acting behind when Stargate came calling. Hoping to turn them away gently, he demanded $1 million, thinking no one would pay it. They agreed instantly. What kept him from walking away was not the script, but the costumes. Designer Joseph A. Porro crafted Ra's wardrobe like sacred armor, layered velvet robes in purple and turquoise, gold lame panels that shimmered under light, and a massive fiberglass headdress set with lapis, tiger eye, and copper wiring. Davidson, a lover of visual design, saw meaning in the detail. The costume gave him a reason to stay. But his time on set was difficult. He refused to remove nipple piercings during shirtless scenes, requiring constant costume adjustments. Then, just 2 days into filming, his assistant vanished, along with Davidson's phone, cash, and methadone. His stress levels surged. Substance struggles soon made reading cue cards nearly impossible, and the role had to be reimagined. Test audiences reacted poorly. They didn't understand who Ra was supposed to be, or why the character didn't feel threatening. So the filmmakers re-edited his performance. They deepened his voice, added glowing eyes, and finally revealed an alien parasite controlling a human host. This one creative pivot redefined the film's mythology, and laid the foundation for the Goa'uld storyline in Stargate SG-1. Davidson watched the final cut and said he was relieved. He had believed he had ruined the film. In the end, what saved Stargate was the very thing Davidson valued most: craftsmanship, a wormhole through culture. What began as a practical water effect in a plexiglass tank became one of the most recognizable visual signatures in science fiction. The liquid-like shimmer of the Stargate didn't just define the franchise, it carved its place into scientific imagination. Years after the film's release, researchers at institutions like NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Caltech began using cinematic visuals to explain abstract cosmic phenomena to the public. Among the imagery chosen for wormholes and Einstein-Rosen bridges, one stood out: Stargate's portal. The irony was striking. A sequence born from iced tea powder and a wooden drill, crafted not for realism but visual poetry, was now helping to translate the language of general relativity. While no one in that garage ever intended to influence science communication, the imagery proved so intuitively powerful that it crossed into public education. The effect became a visual metaphor, bridging entertainment and astrophysics in ways no one predicted. And this influence extended far beyond the silver screen. The TV series Stargate SG-1 expanded on the mythos, spawning a multi-decade franchise. The Kawoosh effect remained central, sometimes recreated with CGI, but often still using practical techniques inspired by the original. Even in a digital age, the most convincing wormholes were still grounded in fluid dynamics and handcrafted ingenuity. Stargate didn't just imagine a portal between worlds, it became one. Between cinema and science, between fiction and understanding, and between what was improvised and what endured. They built a ripple with iced tea and a water tank, and it reshaped how we visualize wormholes. From sci-fi to science, Stargate opened a portal that still echoes. If this blew your mind, subscribe for more true stories behind legendary scenes. And don't forget to share this cinematic deep dive.